We're discussing AI-powered GitOps, deploy, debug, and remediate apps in Argo CD. A little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone should see a Q&A link at the bottom of the webinar screen. Please drop any questions you have in there. We'll save time at the end for any questions that we haven't answered during the course of the presentation, but hopefully we'll be able to take a few of them live as well. So please don't wait until the last minute. Drop them in there as they come up. We will also make a recording of this conversation available afterwards if you want to share or revisit with friends. And if you're joining us just now, go ahead and drop where you're from in the chat when we get into it. I'm really excited to be hosting today's conversation with Hong and Michael. So before we look at the agenda, let's start with some quick introductions. Hong?
Yeah, hello everyone. It's my pleasure to meet everyone here. So Hong Wang, so I'm the co-founder and CEO for Akuity, but most importantly, I have been working on the Argo project for 10 years. So it's a long journey and very proud of that. And yeah, thank you for joining us so I can share what we are working on right now.
Thanks, Hong. And Michael?
Hello, everyone. Michael Goodness. I am a principal DevOps engineer on the cloud platform team at Major League Baseball. I'm working out of my home office in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and have been a loyal Argo CD user since early 2019.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. I'm Eddie Webbinaro, your host today and sales engineer with Akuity. So let's take a look at the agenda. Today's conversation is focused on the new exciting release of Akuity Intelligence. That's delivering AI-powered GitOps. But we're going to spend just 1 minute laying the foundation for Akuity's mission overall, because holistically, we're focused on a few areas: enterprise scale deployments, continuous promotion, paired with insights and intelligence to act. And we're going to briefly cover these 3 areas. We'll hear about MLB's journey that Michael just alluded to, and then we're going to dive into an Akuity Intelligence demo. By the end of today's session, everyone should leave with an understanding of how our agentic solution, combined with deep insights into your GitOps configuration, will enable unparalleled debug and remediation capabilities. So just in 30 seconds, covering what Argo CD is, this is the foundation where most folks start their GitOps journey. Argo CD enables declarative GitOps, right? So the idea is your source of truth is your Git repositories. Argo CD's job is just to make sure your Kubernetes clusters accurately represent that intended state. I'm going to assume actually most folks on the call today are familiar with GitOps and Argo CD specifically. But if not, I'd encourage everyone to check out our video series and blog posts. We have a ton of great introductory content. And like Michael alluded to, this is actually where MLB started their journey sometime in 2019. So Michael, I'd love to hear from you first. You hosted this great talk at ArgoCon on MLB's adoption of open source Argo CD to solve some of the challenges your team was facing with Kubernetes adoption. And without replaying that entire talk, but I would encourage folks to watch that, and Austin can share a link in the webinar here. Can you just share some of the highlights to your adoption?
Certainly. So being a baseball guy, I'm all about the stats. So let me give you a rundown here. We, at the time of my talk, we were managing 6,200 applications across more than 200 clusters living in Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud, and each of the major and minor league ballparks, where we actually have a rack in each of the ballparks running Kubernetes. That accounts for 59,000 managed resources managed by Argo CD. We were managing about 200 to 400 deployments each day, depending on which teams are actively deploying, and 30 plus developer teams. And our goal with Argo CD really was to empower those developer teams to manage and control their own deployments. We being the cloud platform team, provided the mechanism via Argo CD for each of these developer teams to deploy their own applications into the clusters.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. And I think, it's so interesting, and again, covered in your talk, this idea that not only were you dealing with the heterogeneous environment, multiple clouds, but like you mentioned, these were deployed in each of the ballparks. So you were literally dealing with, this physically dispersed environment where network latency and other challenges become so much more acute to your management. And I know, we've seen this, I think, and folks on the call today will probably resonate with them, where they're spending a lot of time tuning and kind of tweaking and repairing the instance rather than focusing on the enablement and acceleration of platform teams. And I know I actually struggled with that at Liberty Mutual when our platform team, we supported a couple thousand developers. And as this central platform team, your job is enabling self-service. And the possibilities are massive out there. But you're spending all this energy just keeping the lights on, right? And you can't deliver on all those services and the innovation that the application teams need to achieve their own innovation. And so I actually laughed during your talk, Michael, when you kind of get to the end and you mentioned it was time to make this someone else's problem. And so that's when you turned to Akuity. And so now I'd like to actually turn it over to Hong. You've had MLB as a customer for about 3 years. So clearly Akuity is solving a problem that MLB struggled with. Problems you've seen a number of our other customers deal with. And so can you tell us a little bit about what makes Akuity different?
Yeah, I think I think I want to go back to the history a little bit. So we were a startup. We got acquired by Intuit. We created Argo CD, and Michael joined our journey on the open source side. And also at Intuit, we are also adopting Argo and Kubernetes in a large scale. So at Intuit, we are running about 300 cluster, 20,000 namespaces or applications. I think that was in 2021. Right now, it's definitely even bigger. So we are running the TurboTax, QuickBooks, multi-billion business on top. And even for ourselves, even we are the original creator of the Argo CD, we are constantly also facing these challenges of the scalability of the Argo CD by itself. I think I remember that several things. The number one, which all kind of like when I hear Michael complaining about their open source Argo CD, I think, okay, perfect. Like we are not like a hallucination, like we are facing the similar challenges when you're really in that scale. I think number one problem is about connectivity. So like Argo CD, you need to have the direct access to the API server. In Michael's case, or even at Intuit case, like we have so many regions, so many VPC, all so many edge location for the Major League Baseball is how you ensure the Argo CD has the direct API server access is actually an operational burden. I mean, it's doable. I'm not saying that you cannot do it. It's more like the more clusters you have, the more cautious you have to be doing for the the layout. Like for example, at Intuit, we need to do the VPC peering. So I guarantee you, like we have this like a spreadsheet talking about the VPC seeder blocks, and when they are overlapped, we are messed up. So we don't want to do that. And the second thing is about the another constant fight I had with the security team. Because okay, go back, sorry. Security team, because the Argo CD actually needed the admin credential in the centralized location. Means in the centralized controller, it had the admin credential saved locally, used to talking to the alt API server. Then security team is always asking us, hey, you have this one location, not only have all the API server access of all the cluster, but also has the admin credential here. So this is kind of like, can you make it better? So we constantly pushing back to, no, we are using open source. This is the open source design, so we cannot make it better. So let's compromise, let's accept the fact as it is. Then we're talking about the challenges. So if you look at the left side, we're making the line very, very thick for a reason, because Argo CD providing this kick-ass UI experience, basically anything you see in real time. How we do it? Nothing fancy. We're basically doing the streaming, all the Kubernetes events from the individual cluster to the centralized control plane to getting the latest information and process it. Basically, there's a lot of the bandwidth usage and a lot of data transfer and a lot of the computation power needed in the controller to process data to keep up. So then I think Michael at Intuit, no matter what, like when you have hundreds of cluster, like hundreds K, thousands of the resources, that events number is actually insane. And that's all coming back to like you need to fine tune the controller, fine tune the repo server, API server to make it performing. I remember, Michael, you shared in your presentation, like you are running, I don't remember, like 300 vCPU in total, roughly, for your open source Argo CD. To me, is why I see that I say, oh my God, that is sort of like a lot of money and a lot of fine tuning. I'm pretty sure like you, at a certain moment, if I'm not wrong, you can comment on that, is I feel you are throwing the money to the problem a little bit, right? So
That's
just
exactly right. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. We were not experts in scaling Argo CD, so it was definitely capable of running at our scale, but we didn't have the expertise to tune it. So yeah, we threw compute and therefore money at the problem. I think
Yeah.
that's a common I think that's a common solution.
Cool. So, yeah, we learn from us, we learn from the community, we learn from Major League Baseball. So that's why we really providing a unique solution here. And we statement is like it's 100x more scalable than open source Argo for a reason. I think if you go to the next slides, I can dive into a little bit technical detail here. I think the big difference here, if you recall back all the talking point I mentioned, is connectivity again. So rather than control plane on the left side talking to the individual cluster, we actually running this agent-based hybrid architecture. So the component of the Argo CD plus our agent on the running on the individual managed cluster and connect back. So that actually remove that requirement to making your API server actually exposed. So we can running this cluster anywhere. So I think Michael mentioned about they are running on the Oracle, Google, or different location on-prem. So it can be very easily managed. So we are naturally born, very, very, very good fit for the edge cases, for the multi-cloud cases, for the multi-VPC cases. Basically, we eliminated that like networking, layout, setting, and just making the Argo CD more fundamental. So when you're thinking about something more fundamental, it's like less dependency, less setting. You just want it just works. So that's the connectivity. Then we're talking about credential. So on the right side, actually our agent and the controller is running on the individual managed cluster. I would say this, like local controller is using the local credential to talking to the local API server and process the data locally. I think I mentioned local so many times. With that, only the local side needs the credential, means on the left side, even in the centralized controller, to powering the existing UI API CLI, we don't have your admin credential. So your credential is still be within individual cluster and distributed. So this is the way better security posture than what we are doing with the open source version. Then we talk about last things about the locality. I think I mentioned, the chattiness. So the locality is solving that. Basically, majority of the data and events is actually being processed locally. Only a small number of the data being transferred back to the controllers in the centralized location because we are not providing you something different. It's still the same UI, API, and CLI. So what you get is still the Argo CD. I mean, you still fit into the CNCF ecosystem. So assuming you are using Backstage, you are already using some like other solution already integrated with open source Argo CD. It just works. So that's kind of like our answer to the enterprise usage of the Argo CD, and also make your operational burden to be much simpler there. And yeah, I mean, I know Michael has been with us for almost like 3 years, and I didn't hear much complaint from him. Assume he's happy about our solution. Assuming we are powering the Major League Baseball like seasons like nonstop, and I think the game is on, everything's smooth. So definitely really great to see Michael like being happy customer for us here.
And Michael, I've seen you nodding along to this, and I know you mentioned some of these points Han covered yourself in the Argo talk. But yesterday, when we were preparing for this conversation, you also mentioned an unexpected benefit that you saw from the adoption of the Akuity platform. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that everything Hong pointed out here is true. We once we went with Acuity, the benefits of the architecture really showed through. We don't have those. We don't have to worry about the scalability of the controllers. We don't have to worry about taking down our GitHub enterprise instance because because we're overwhelming it with Git requests. The console sluggishness that we saw in the open source project just kind of disappeared. We just don't have those complaints anymore. One unexpected benefit was also upgrades. We don't have to keep track of individual releases of Argo CD or CVEs. The Akuity team does that, and they have In the case of CVEs, they have patches ready within, I mean, literally sometimes within hours of the announcements. And the upgrade is it's one click away in the dashboard. And we can deploy new versions of the Akuity agent or Argo CD in one click to all of the clusters. And it only takes as long as the pods to restart in each cluster. It really is that simple.
It's powerful stuff. Thank you, Michael. And I mentioned at the start that there's three main pillars of GitOps that Akuity is focused on. And many customers like MLB were really focused on that deployment side, enterprise scale, successfully addressing those pain points of Kubernetes adoption at that massive, level of scale. Another key pillar for Akuity is this concept of continuous promotion. And we're actually seeing really strong adoption both in the open source community and on our Akuity platform of a product known as Cargo. So Hong, I'd love to continue with you here. Can you tell us a little bit about the challenge you saw and how Cargo is solving it?
Yeah, I mean, the continuous promotion is kind of like a marketing term. To be honest, I don't like it, but they just like make it easier for people to resonate a little bit and building some association. I think the key problem is a very, very practical problem. So it's like we are not trying to pushing some like flamboyant idea to you, like Cargo is doing this multi-stage GitOps application orchestration. What exactly is doing? So you like Argo CD, you guys are all the Argo expert. So Argo is pretty good at the last mile deployment. I call it, hey, YAML in the Git to the namespace on a particular cluster. Period. That's it. And Argo will be very focused on that, doing the last mile deployment perfectly. And then, I mean, when we talking about Argo CD app, I think it's not really an Argo CD app or application. In the reality, people are thinking about it's an environment. Basically, on one logical app, you always have the multiple Argo CD app. So we are talking about dev, staging, and in nowadays, you have multiple production. Very common. So then who is doing that higher level orchestration to ensure I'm coordinating all those like group of the Argo CD app to make sure the newer version actually being going through one version to another. So there's no obvious like off-the-shelf solution like until the Cargo was born. Before that, I think we interviewed so many customers and we even at Intuit, we don't have time to solving that problem at the time. So we are using Jenkins. People using GitHub Action, people using Circle CI, different solution. They're basically writing a deployment pipeline in CI to doing such an orchestration. It works. I'm not saying that it's not a bad idea. No, it's not a bad idea. The problem is actually, okay, you have one or two environment, great. That script works. Then you have 5. Then you have 20. And then you are having 2,000 like applications, like how you are replicating those scripts like once, twice, 3 times. And in the end, it's our experience and our customer experience is this is insane. This is auto control. I just want to make a small tweak, but I need to change the script. I need to rerun the script from the beginning. It's just like something is kind of like so burdensome there. So what we are doing here is actually we want to make things simple. So we want like natively supporting everything and put all the concept, right concept in the first class citizen. High level, I'm talking here is we are not replacing the CI. I want to be crystal clear. CI is important. CI is there. What we are trying to do is making your CD to be more powerful. Basically, using the Cargo and Argo CD together, you're getting a very solid, future-proof, and stable like promotion and deployment pipeline or solution here. So the left side, we are talking about, we are monitoring the change. So what is the change? Change is, okay, CI building a new Docker image, or CI is building a binary, and the configuration change, like you make some change in the YAML, basically it's also in the Git. So we detect those change, and we call it a freight, or it's artifacts. It's a tuple. It could be just Docker image, or could be configuration, or the combination is a tuple. So that is a promotable, immutable unit. So you want to deploy to the different environment, the different Argo CD application. Then the Cargo is doing this orchestration. So it's actually getting the information, updating the Git repository, and trigger the Argo CD to do the same. And also the most important, and actually I call it a little bit of fancier concept, but a very practical, useful thing called verification, is when you deploy something to an environment, it's just the beginning of the journey, to be honest, like, because you need to start to do the verification and validation. Okay, I deploy to my staging. I want to check in my New Relic or Datadog to say, hey, do I have 500 error code? I want to trigger my functional test. I want to trigger my stress test. I want it to soak in for 5 days before I go into the production. That's too long, sorry. 5 hours before it's going to the production. So basically the verification is kind of like a certification for the freight before it's eligible to be promoted to the next stage. If you go to the next page, it's kind of like very visual here. So if you look at the top, is actually the free line. We call the free line. So left side is the newer one, right side is the older one. Underneath is actually the pipeline. But I want to call it out one thing very important here is every card is the Argo CD application, and every card have its own life cycle. It's not about something you are running like a typical like CI/CD pipeline. Is okay, I run from the beginning once, twice, second, then it's kind of all the way down. When you're promoting some older freight to the production, at the same time, you are promoting newer freight to the dev. Can all happen in parallel. It's kind of all decoupled. So every stage have its own life cycle. However, there is a dependency. You see the line there. That dependency is only for the freight. Basically, you want the freight, the change to be goes through the stages in this way. So that's the dependency. That's how the verification plays a role there. And also Argo Cargo gave you this direct view. It's a damn simple question. Which version is running where? I know it sounds silly, but I guarantee you in the traditional CI/CD pipeline, it's not that easy. You see from here, this is a common normal case, and adding people can see that here is purple is production, running older version. Red is dev, running the youngest version. Means this is normal, but if you see the purple is in the youngest version, I think you get the idea. Something happened yesterday. So we had something happen, so we screw up something. So that's why we do a hot patch or something. So I think that's kind of like a pretty high-level conversation about the cargo. Like, check it out. We have the open source version, and also you can using our like cloud to do a POC very easily to see the powerfulness of it. So yeah, I will pause here for the cargo. So I can continue forever.
Awesome. No, that's great. I appreciate it, Hong. And I love that you made that point about that visibility. I mean, we saw even, it's not just the application teams or the platform teams that want to know, what is what environment, but we even saw it from stakeholders and QA teams and project managers. I want to know, is that feature, is that bug fix, is that next function I'm waiting for, has it made it to this stage in the process? And with the tool like Cargo, everyone can see at a glance so simply exactly where things are at. And I love that you highlighted that. And I think, Cargo offering is especially powerful as part of the Akuity platform as a whole, where it's got this deep integration to the Argo CD enabled clusters and this really deep visibility into the platform, exposing that intelligence for the platform and application teams alike. And that really starts to speak to our third area of focus and the meat of today's conversation, which is Akuity Intelligence. One thing I love about Akuity is how we look at intelligence through a couple of lenses here, right? The first is just this ability to distill loads and loads of raw data into actionable insights. How can we aggregate it up to a level that makes sense and give you visibility again across hundreds of clusters and thousands of applications? That's something Michael brought up in his talk as well. Our proprietary dashboards really help make sense of that massive scale of individual application and clusters, and we'll see that in just a minute. But the other part of intelligence is actually allowing the platform to take automated and immediate action in the event of failures, right? And the little difference here is that Akuity approached MLB about this, right? We actually brought to MLB a solution to a problem they knew they had, but didn't necessarily know that we were the ones to solve for. So Hong, I know I'm personally really excited for this, and I think our audience has been waiting. Can you tell us about Akuity Intelligence?
Yeah, so again, like I have been being the platform engineer and SRE for the last like decades. So again, so we don't want to give you some very fancy. So this is the AI, LLM backed, but don't just like close the book and walk away. So this is the very, very practical using of the AI in our day-to-day basis, day-to-day cases. So for example, I think when we're working at Intuit, I think we have this challenge is we are a team of about 8 people at Intuit, so we kind of like responsible for the bring up the Kubernetes cluster, manage the lifecycle of it, bring up the namespace, and also figure out the end-to-end developer experience, everything. I think that's Michael's role for sure. So Michael's day-to-day life is doing that. And then there is the unspoken part of that journey or responsibility is at Intuit, we have 4,000 developers in 2018. They don't know anything about Kubernetes. And they basically are application developer. They focus on business logic. They kind of like, hey, I need to do something, but I'm not expert. I don't know. They don't know about pod. They don't know about anything about Kubernetes. They don't even know how to troubleshooting by themselves. So then for that brief period, like we are the support team. That's our role because we are running the cluster and that's our responsibility. Also kind of like educating our developers about, hey, here's the basic idea about how Kubernetes works. So Argo CD helps because Argo CD visualize everything, showing the tree view, showing the live log, showing the events, showing the manifest. That's already pretty helpful. And but we still keep getting those like simple, straightforward, like sometimes you feel, why is this question repeat like 10 times in the Slack channel? I'm a little bit like, out of control, like there. Why someone can just help me answer it? Why they cannot just self-serve to figure it out themselves? So that's kind of like the frustration we had. So then we later figure out to do something, but it's not ideal. So we still hire some people, building a tiny support team, basically kind of answering questions, help people troubleshooting. I think finally we have a proper like solution for that. So I think Akuity Intelligence definitely solving partial of that question. So that's why we're telling you here is we are introducing several agents. It's trying to automating the management of the application and software delivery at scale. So if you go to the next slide, I think the key things is one side is we see the need. So one is we need a smartness regarding like just like doing the Q&A. That's easy. That's a level one. The level two is what if the agent can actually help to mitigate the issue? So if you already know what's going on, you have the smartness to derive what's recommendation. So can you just do it? I think that's kind of all the requirement. Then we back to the fundamental here is why we are different is I think the Akuity deployment promotion, the area we are staying with the Argo CD cargo, we are well positioned already being a very successful agentic solution. Why? So we already been trusted and have the secure access. Basically, what is our day-to-day job? Our day-to-day job is making changes. Our day-to-day job is actually show you the information. So we already have the context. We have your live log, live events, live manifest, and also your deployment history. So we have all the information. That's the context. So with that context, with the model, and you are able to derive the actionable insights, but we also needed the input from the user, which we'll dive into that later in the demo. So we were able to derive the actionable insights. It's like when you're asking ChatGPT about a certain question, they say, hey, you should restart that pod. Then you say, hey, you go back to the Argo CD or go to the kubectl and delete that pod and restart the pod. But in Cargo, in Argo, and in Akuity, we can just do it. So it means when you have the like insight, actionable insight, we can make it immediate actionable. So we kind of close that loop here is, okay, it's not about just tell you, hey, something's wrong, do it. It's like something's wrong. If you allow me, I will just do that for you. That's kind of like the experience we are looking. So I'm skeptical about AI still to some extent. Like I'm be frank about it. But I see the AI is already trustworthy for the well-defined issues. So if you know the issue well, you can build in your trust, certain level of trust to make it happen. It's kind of like very, very helpful. It's kind of saving your time, especially those like repeatable, low-hanging things. They are annoying, but they keep happening. So this better AI can be the best solution here. So we have multiple agents, so we are organized by the functionality. So we definitely have the deployment advisor and the promotion advisor. We'll demo to you guys about how the AI can be help you to getting more information, making an informed decision for you. We're also talking the on-call agent. I think that's our key information here. I think better to show in the demo later to tell you how it works. Then you will see the simple example, but I would say the potential is unlimited there. So you can create a lot of the special use cases to making the on-call agent working for you.
Awesome.
Oh,
Well, I think on that
all
note,
right.
Hong, enough slides, right? I'll hand control over to you and you can show us Akuity Intelligence in action. And Michael, while Hong is bringing that up, I know that you have been a user of Akuity Intelligence for a while, so I'd encourage you to jump in with some observations you have as Hong walks us through the demo.
Oh, yeah. Assuming, can you guys see my screen? Just
Looks
double check.
good.
Perfect, perfect. Um, I think I want to start with several things. So the first thing is about context. So we not only making the AI can consume the context, but we also give you the context directly. Means you can leveraging the Argo CD to getting a lot of more information. So this is the Argo CD UI. Yeah, we changed the logo a little bit. You can customize it, but it's Argo CD UI. Nothing fancy here, boring. But if you notice on the left side, we do adding additional tabs. So we're showing the application set. We're also showing this thing called intelligence. So it has a lot of the dashboard here. So one thing we start is actually object. So this is a multi-cluster Kubernetes dashboard. So it's like what you're using. I know people using Lens, people using K9S, but this is actually embedded in the Argo CD UI directly. So we are not only showing the information from the Argo CD managed resources. So even your resource is not managed by Argo CD directly, we can show it. For example, here, I can go to any namespace, showing any resource there, and be able to getting like the Argo CD experience. You can see the log, events, and all the record, everything here. So this is very helpful. Basically, when you're troubleshooting something, sometimes it's not in the Argo CD, like your application. For example, something is related to the certificate manager. Let's say you want to checking the certificate manager is running fine or not. So from here, you could able to quickly to find its namespace and checking the pod status and getting the information. So we were able to do it here. I think Michael, you liked this feature, right? I know you can like use this in the daily basis. So what's your take on this?
Yes, we love the dashboards. I think, one thing that open source Argo CD excels at is really being able to drill into a specific application and see, check the logs, see what the pod behavior is like. What these dashboards provide is an aggregate, kind of a macro view of all of your applications or some subset of applications running in any number of clusters, any number of namespaces. That definitely is something that is missing from open source, and having that integrated here with all the context that Argo CD already provides is truly invaluable.
Perfect, perfect. I think the day-to-day basis, sometimes I'm just using myself. Sometimes I want to see, hey, I know the kube system sometimes not deployed by the Argo CD. So from the Argo CD UI, you will not able to reach that pod because Argo CD doesn't manage it. But sometimes you do curious about, hey, is that like in this case, the AWS node, is that running? Is that fine? So we were able basically come in here, still find it. So we are showing not only the information came in from or managed by Argo CD or any other information actually not managed by Argo CD, as long as it connects to Argo CD, we were able to show it. So let's move into the next dashboard. I think next one we like is actually this image. So we do integrate with Trivy. So we're doing the CV scanning for your live running image. So I'm talking about we are not scanning any image not being used. We are scanning your image actually being deployed in your cluster. So I think just my learning experience is that security is the moving target. So the day you're doing the security scanning, like in the CI pipeline, doesn't mean much because tomorrow the CVE landscape could be totally changed because we just identify some issue. So the live information and what being runtime used is actually matters more. So here, for example, we have this HA proxy has this one CVE and it's high, and also you care about what they are running. So in this case, it's being used like 900 times, and you know which cluster is running it and where is the location. So this is very good for the inventory management. Like when you have this log4j situation, you can mark a situation like finding that CVE, and you also want to quickly know where they are running to limit your exposure. So this is very handy for people. I think another view I think I like most, I kind of be my, I would say, screensaver to some extent is this node view. I think we have this like live information about the overall usage and feeling about the individual cluster. This is by CPU memory utilization. Recently, we actually optimized the pod density. So this gives you the idea about how it's looking like right now. Overall, it's looking way better. I think I like this namespace view the best because when I'm doing, like we are doing this cost management also every now and then. So we're trying to figure out, hey, are we wasting a lot of resources? So the best way to do it is actually focus on the big consumer. So here by the CPU, we know, oh, Calico system is fine, Signals is fine, monitor is fine. Oh, we actually have those Argo CD instances actually consuming a lot of the resources. That's where we starting the troubleshooting and actually figure out the problem. I don't know, like Michael, do you ever use this dashboard?
I'll say our FinOps folks love this one.
Perfect. Perfect. So we also have this like usage/request. This is the percentage. This is basically how you size your resources. I look at our production one. I think CPU, we are not CPU bounded. Right now we are more memory bounded. I think this is decent. So I came here very often. I think it's close to be the 40 to 50. It's definitely decent, but definitely I think we have pretty space to increase here. So I think we can reduce the request a little bit further, getting more density. I think that will save you more money. But here you're getting all the information directly on the Argo CD UI. And it's enable your team to have more context, making a more informed decision. But all those information is all the, I would say, the ingredients to making the AI to be useful. So while we are moving away from the inside dashboard, let me dive into our like promotion advisor here a little bit. So this is the cargo, nothing fancy, boring. So we have this stage. I think I'm not going to demo the cargo functionality. I'm more focused on the AI portion. Is okay. As you can see, every environment is running 0.1 version. So I want to promoting the 0.2. But here's the reality. When you look at it, okay, it tell me it's the foolish hamster. And it's a Docker image 0.0.2. Okay, I'm promoting it. But I kind of thinking, oh, what I'm promoting, exactly, what I'm promoting, it's 0.0.2. So is that a big change? Is that a small change? Is that just documentation change? I don't know. I have no idea. So what we are doing here is we have this AI promotion advisor. So this is doing a nice diff. What it's doing is it's diffing what is running already in your environment, basically the Docker image and what is the source code building that Docker image, and against what is coming. Basically, based on that information, it's actually not that fancy in the code. In the annotation of the Docker image, we actually have the revision and the source code. Based on that, we know which revision actually built this Docker image. And then we can do the comparison. Then we get in the diff, we get in the summary. Then before you click on this button, you get in this summary about the risk level, the summary, what has been changed. So in this case, that's low because mostly just like CLI, like library change there. As you can see here from the diff, you can see the raw information here. All the change is big, but it's actually functionality-wise not a huge change. So that's why it seems low. So that's the idea, basically making the AI to help you to summarize the situation and make your decision to be more informed rather than you're running blind here. That's the promotion advisor. Yes, I look at it, I think it's good, I will promote. Just imagine that when you have a newer version, maybe there are 200 commits with several features. And this summary will get you the idea about, hey, what I'm getting there. And normally, that's the reality. The 70 to 80% of the bad incident happened right after you deploying a new version. I think know what you are deploying is very, very crucial. So you are not running blind there. So the next thing I want to demo here is actually our AI SRE or Runbook executor here. So we do have this Runbook I want to show you guys. Basically, we still think the AI needs the human's help because I trust more about the platform engineer and the SRE. So you guys are the people managing the infrastructure. You know the best practice or preference of the best practice. You know the full context about the infrastructure. So you can give me more to the point recommendation for the mitigation. So rather than letting the AI just like come up with something random. So you want to be very specific about the symptom and also the solution. That's why in the human language, you're basically writing a runbook, human readable, about the out-of-memory issue, for example, here. So you can writing a symptom here and also the solution. The solution is being very specific. You want to increase the memory by 50 megabytes, no more, no less. And also you have this like troubleshooting step. I think one thing I want to call it out here is since this is a well-defined like action, I allow the AI to take in the patch actions automatically without my approval. But you can also tell the AI don't, asking for approval. And also I want to asking the AI to say, hey, checking the application 30 seconds later, then close the instance automatically. So our idea is, okay, AI can take the action, AI still continue to monitor the application and resolve the issue automatically. So here's our very simple runbook. I can write this runbook maybe in 2 minutes and just describe the main information. There's a bit of fine tuning here. So then let's see, I'm applying that to a particular Argo CD application. You can control it. I'm coming here, I'm going to break it. So I'm going to click on the sync, basically put a bad setting to this app, and it's still starting crashing. It's all the memory queued, and the Argo CD is not giving up, so it will be crashing maybe once, twice, a little bit, and it will give up to see Argo CD is degraded. Let's wait a little bit. So Argo CD know what's going on about your app and being able to react to it. So in this case, it's degraded, and you see the instance has been fired up automatically. I didn't click on anything. Again, I'm not clicking on it. I'm going to hands off. I like to doing this. The AI took over based on your runbook. So it's starting to gather the information, the resources. It's already did the change in the backend. If you see the auto sync and the progressing there, it's sending the Slack message, keep you informed. Let's wait a little bit. It's already healthy. I think it's trying to figure out the summary and give you the summary here. Yes, it's giving you the summary about what has been changed. It's changed the memory setting and give you the right diff there. And also it's saying that it actually, and follow-up health check will be run in 30 seconds to determine if party, okay, it's wake up, 30 seconds to wake up. So it's checking everything again, it's resolved instant. Voila, I think that's kind of like the moment is, it's detect the issue, it's resolved the issue within about minutes or two. Thinking about if you're getting a pager duty at night, so you wake up, open your laptop, and you see the problems through the Argo CD UI or Cargo UI, you patch it, and then you resolve it by mitigated. And that easily taking 10, 20, or 30 minutes. And also the similar problem could be happening on a different app, in a different cluster. So that's just like how many times you need to repeat those. But in this case, is you're writing the runbook, you're asking the runbook to just mitigate the issue for you, and it's shrinking that MTTR from like 20 minutes to 1 or 2 minutes. That's just how powerful it is. I want to show you guys. I want to mention something about like yes, yesterday I think I assume everyone in this Zoom channel, you guys are firefighting the AWS outage yesterday. So we were doing the same. Basically, yesterday it's impacted our Docker registry. So we have certain namespace that actually cannot put the latest Docker image, and we got the pager duty, and the team resolved it by moving to a mirror. But what we are doing here is when we identify the root cause, we're writing a runbook. The runbook is based saying that if you see the image pull back off with this Docker registry prefix, just replace the Docker registry, patch it to pull in the Docker image from a different registry. And then any follow-up instant is being auto-resolved for us in that night. That's kind of a very, very practical like benefits for us. So yeah, Michael, I know we have been working together in our beta program. I think you actually have the hands-on experience here. But if you don't mind, do you mind to share a little bit about your experience with this like Runbook execution or AI SRE here?
Not at all. So a couple of weeks ago, we had issues with Cert Manager not renewing a handful of TLS certificates as expected. Anyone familiar with Cert Manager knows that it's a somewhat complex process to reach out to Let's Encrypt and get certificates issued and then return to the cluster and attach to ingresses and everything. There are a number of resources that it uses behind the scenes to do that orchestration. So with Akuity's help, we actually were able to write this runbook to address the situation and to help us figure out what's happening and then to resolve those issues. Because Argo CD and Akuity Intelligence has the context, it understands the relationship between those custom resources that Cert Manager uses. And it's natural language, so it's easy for my team that does have some Kubernetes knowledge to understand it and to formulate. But as we continue shifting left, that the natural language will also help our developer teams write their own runbooks for situations that may occur with their own specific applications. So super powerful, super helpful. And yeah, I can't stress enough how much burden this takes off of us having to answer the same questions over and over and over.